You know what I wished I'd learned earlier about promoting my podcast episode on social media? That it is a complete waste of time just repurposing it. Audiograms don't work, clipping audio doesn't work, saying this episode just dropped doesn't work. So in this video, I'm going to take you through what does work. So in this video, you're going to learn the following three things. One, why repurposing content for social media is ineffective and a waste of time and resources. Two, the content hacking secret that will help you beat creative block when creating content. And three, the extra ingredient in your content that will lure your audience in and get them to listen to your podcast episode. If you are an expert looking for the best advice on how to grow your podcast audience, then make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell to be notified whenever I post a new video. My name is Deidre Shen, the CEO and co-founder of Capsho, the world's first AI-powered podcast copywriter. I have been working with experts who cumulatively have banked over $1.6 million in sales through podcasting. In fact, I myself did over $200,000 in just my first year podcasting because I stumbled upon all of these little known secrets. So let's get into exactly why repurposing your podcast content is a complete waste of time and what you should be doing instead. Okay, we are going to now head into the 3 steps to reconceptualizing, not repurposing, so that we can actually use social media to effectively promote our podcast. This is what we're going to do. We're growing your podcast show. Okay, so step 1.
Step 1. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Sorry, I am joined by my co-founder, Bonnerai. Okay, so let's get into it, shall we?
Yes. Well, step 1 is very easy, hopefully. We want to
work out what platform we're creating content for.
Exactly.
Because this is the thing, this is what I said before, which is that each platform is different. The audiences on there are different. The types of content that works on there is different. So this whole, just create one thing and try to post it everywhere, it just doesn't work.
Yes.
It doesn't work. So we need to work out what is it that you want to actually be creating content for.
Yes.
And if you listen to anyone who knows pretty much what they're talking about, if you're new to this game, you want to probably just stick to 1, maybe max 2. Don't try to overwhelm yourself by trying to be everywhere unless you have a team.
Yes.
So that's the first step. What platform are you creating content for? And let's talk through an example.
Yeah. So definitely, we are on all of the platforms, but in this example, we'll talk about one where we had an Instagram reel. So the platform that we chose is Instagram. And the great thing is that once you do focus on the platform, there's already so much great content being created. So you can actually what we call content hack and see what is actually happening out there to pick, I guess, to have a look. So basically for us, we're picking Instagram for this particular example.
Yes, and Bonner gave you a sneak peek into step number 2, which is to content hack on that platform. So let's talk a little bit about what content hacking is. You know by now that a mentor of mine is Russell Brunson, and he is a big believer in hacking all sorts of things. So he coined funnel hacking as his thing that his audience does. And in a similar fashion, we've coined content hacking as the thing that our audience can do, that you can do. And what it really is just how do you find really high performing posts, videos, reels, whatever it is. Again, go back to step 1, whatever platform you're on, work out what are the high performing types of content that works on that platform and then hack it. That's what you want to do. And we will go into step 3 will be about how you actually do that part of it. But first, content hacking, which is that we need to find that inspiration on that platform that you're on.
Yes.
So why don't we talk through an example that we did?
Yeah, so the great thing about content hacking is you don't need to feel limited to your specific niche. So an example that we did for Instagram Reels is one of our team members found this really fun reel that someone in e-commerce actually had created. So e-commerce, and specifically she made her own products. So the reel was to a really fun audio, Dua Lipa, I can't remember the name of the song now.
I think it's going to be a long, long time. So
Yeah.
we will cut it in, and actually we'll leave that inspo in the show notes as well. So
Yes.
you can see, go check it out, you guys.
Yes. Yep. So with that reel, it was basically her. It was, for those of you who haven't checked it out, it was just her making her products, and the audio was, it's going to be a long, long time. Basically, her husband saying, "Hey, how long are you going to be?" And she was working on a new collection and saying it's going to be a long, long time. And it was a video of her working on her actual product. So we thought, wow, this is performed really well. It's humorous. It gets the point across. And we were like, how can we apply it to our particular service, which is so different.
So different. So this is the thing. We do recommend that you start with, when you are content hacking, because the universe of content that you can possibly hack is so large. So if you're new to this and getting started, I would recommend that you start with accounts that your dreamiest buyers are already following. And they could be other business accounts. They could even be other lifestyle type accounts. But definitely start there, because if they are high performing posts, then you already have a pretty good idea that your audience, the ones that you also want to attract, like that kind of content. So that's where I would start. Now, we've been doing this for a long, long time, and I couldn't help myself. And we have been branching out, and we've been definitely experimenting with a lot of different types of content across a lot of different types of industries and account types. So that would be my first advice, is try to stick, if you're just starting out, stick to what it is that your ideal audience is already engaging with. Okay, so then that leads us into step 3, which is then to actually put our own spin on it. And the overlay to this, because we don't just want to put our own spin on it. I mean, of course we do, but we want to add to that and actually also add in content honey traps, because remember, the whole purpose of this post is to actually compel your ideal audience, your dreamiest buyer, to actually listen to your podcast episode. And if you don't know why, go back to episode 1 and episode 2 of this podcast, because I dive into it there. But in short, really why you want to be doing that comes back to the 7-hour rule that Daniel Priestley talks about in his book Oversubscribed, which is that for anyone, especially if you're an expert, especially if you have high ticket, you're trying to sell your knowledge, for someone to trust you enough to want to buy into you and what it is that you do, they need to spend 7 hours with you. That's the rule. And we've tested this ourselves, and I totally stand behind this concept. And so this is the thing, we want to use our short form content on whatever platform that we're on to actually get people into your next step of the funnel, your front end funnel, which is your podcast episode, so that they actually bank those 7 hours with you through your long form content. So that's why we say that in this step 3, where you're now using that, you're putting your own spin on that inspiration that you've content hacked, you want to also think about it, how do I lay a content honey trap in this as well? So let's talk through an example of what we did.
Yeah, so one of the most powerful content honey traps is to create relatability via way of a pain point that your audience is feeling. So like you said, Deidre, if you want a bit of a rundown to what all of those are, episode 1 and 2 go into that. But in this particular example, we really went with the pain point content honey trap, which we call the boxer.
Yes.
And one of the things where we brainstormed together is to say, okay, what are some of the things that our audience is feeling? And one of the things that comes up time and again for podcast experts who are podcasting, putting a lot of effort into not just the content they're creating and providing for free, but also in their communities, is they attract sometimes a lot of freebie seekers who just want to take, consume. Sometimes, abuse them for saying you dare to charge for something after consuming all this free content. Right? So we knew we know that pain point is there. We hear it time and again. So this reel could actually be about, it's going to be a long, long time before you're able to break up with your freebie seekers, unless you do this one thing with your podcast content that is going to break that toxic relationship forever.
Oh, come on, you guys. If you're listening to this, I bet you want to know what that one thing is, right?
It's only one thing
you want to know.
That you want to change in the content you're already creating, and it's going to change the game. No more freebie seekers Otherwise, it's going to be a long, long time
Yeah, for
before
sure
you're able
will.
to finally break up. So we're like, so the point of the reel in the quick 12 to 15 seconds was to really agitate that pain point in a fun, catchy way.
Yes.
And hey, you can unlock the actual answer when you listen to today's episode.
Yes. And we actually did find that we had a lot of engagement on that post, on that particular reel. And we did have quite a few listeners come through organically. So this is the thing, like it works, right? When the comments if you learned something new from this video, and if you want to hear the full story behind how I stumbled upon this particular secret, then listen to episode 10 of the Grow My Podcast show on any podcast player that you have. I'll leave the link for that below. This video out if you want to learn how to use your podcast description to get instant listens, and this one down here if you want to learn how to use your episode content to hook your audience in and have them binge listening to your whole podcast.